Late game Satisfactory builds tend to go a bit like this. Gather a ridiculous amount of resources, process then something, and then profit. Problem is, you need efficient ways to do it, and most of these efficient recipes for early processing are in refineries, which are incredibly difficult to make look good. Which brings us to today. How do we make 280 refineries look cool? What's up everyone, my name's Ollie, and welcome to Barely Building. Last time we wrangled up nearly 30,000 resources, and today's plan is to prep for our first stage of processing: iron, steel, copper and caterium ingots, as well as copper sheets and concrete. Basically everything that uses a refinery. Our usual flyby the community wall. This first wall is almost full and I can't believe how fast it's filling up. Thanks again, and to get up here, just sub to the channel and drop a comment letting me know. YouTube doesn't always tell me, and I'll get your name up on the wall. And of course, shout out to the OG wall crew. So, today's plan. Part 1, we need to design this area to somehow look cool, holding 280 refineries. Part 2, we need to bring all of our resources across and not make a mess while we load all the refineries with resources. And then part 3, do a throughput test just to make sure that everything is running. We're only going to focus on iron for today. We need about 10,000 iron ingots per minute, so plenty to keep us busy. So let's get on with it. I have a vision, so let's try to make that vision come to life. We've built these dam-like walls around the waterfalls here, and I want to completely fill this pit with the refineries that we need. So let's start with one small section, get that how we want, and then we can repeat that around as many times as we need to. So the basic first step, let's just bring these foundations out a little bit more. We can place some refineries down for scale, just to map out how big we want it. And this is fine. Underneath, we'll leave some space for a logistics floor here. Next, I want a platform underneath, kind of supported by this one. Let's run a concrete pillar down, grab ourselves a foundation and snap that on, and then we can zoop that out and extend it just a little bit further than the platform above it. Throw some refineries in just to check we're happy with the size, and then I've just thrown in some frame foundations and inverted frame ramps just to give this platform a kind of supported feel against the dam walls. And next we need to deal with these bland concrete pillars. This just is not going to do. And the design I ended up going with was to take some outside corner extensions, drop those in to make a circle, nice and simple. Next I switched this to a 2-meter foundation and rotate it just so the flat is on the outside and nudged in once. It gives us this kind of interesting shape, which we can then stack up, and we end up with this. We painted the pillars into a copper colour, added in some lights onto the side sections and the front, and then just added in some braided cable. And we get this really nice looking pillar. Really happy with this. And we're looking good so far, but we need to jazz up this front face a little bit. Nothing too ostentatious. I don't want the eye immediately drawn down here. So we'll just take some H-beams, we'll run them down. Maybe frame that in some painted beams. Add a window in here just so we can see a little bit of movement from our logistics floor, which we can frame in a painted beam. And then a neat trick with H-beams, when we run them sideways, we can take a label sign and half nudge that inside. And it gives the sign this really nice sunken feel inside the frame. And this is what we ended up with. It's nice and simple. It's not going to draw the eye too much. So let's blueprint this up. I've made a single frame and a double frame, which we can then alternate using the blueprint snapping mode just to make this nice and quick. And it looks great, but it's definitely missing something, which is this. I don't know what this is. Beam chandelier? No clue, but it's shiny and weird. So let's try nudging that into the build. And yeah, that sets that off very nicely. So one section done. Now let's just do that again and again and again. And man, do we love cutting hours of gameplay into seconds around here. And now we're left with this small section in the middle with this big waterfall. And I want to break up the refineries just a little bit. We need 72 foundries for this build to process our steel ingots, steel beams and steel pipes. So maybe we chuck those into here. And yeah, this looks great. This breaks up the look of the refineries nicely, just with a little bit of different texture in here. And this is really starting to come together, and just look how this place lights up at night time. After all that, we're still short about 66 refineries, so I think we'll stick the others onto the back of this section that we built here. And thankfully we blueprinted this design, so now we can just chuck a bunch more of these down. And with all those in, we can start looking about where we're going to make everything. It makes sense to do all of our copper up here, as the bulk of the refineries are going to be used to process copper ingots and copper sheets. We can make our iron over here, as a good chunk of that feeds into the foundries to make steel. We process the tail end of our iron, our caterium, and a few for copper here, just as there's not quite enough up the top. And then we have exactly 25 here, which is conveniently how many we need to make all of our concrete. Which brings us nicely onto phase 2. Let's load up all of these iron refineries with resources and water, and turn on the first machines of this project and get some items automated. All of our resources are over here and jumbled up. All of our iron and copper and limestone is all mixed together. So we've run them across, ready to move in, and I've jiggled things around a little bit here just to get all of our limestone, copper and iron all organised. And there's nothing quite like a giant concrete block to hide your sins. I'm kidding. We've chucked some design on a little bit. I need to figure out the supports just to make this building look a little bit better, but we'll do that later. The belts have come down this waterfall and we'll run them across this bridge. I do want to see some movement, but I thought it would look quite strange just having all these belts just running across here. So we've chucked this pretty basic design on just to cover this up. And now let me take you through the inputs and the outputs. Inputs wise, on the logistics floor, we've tried to keep this as neat as possible. We have our raw materials on the ground section coming up from our belts. These split off and feed into the various refineries above, and then the outputs, they will come down on this race section, all merged together, and we'll probably just chuck an awesome sink outside just floating just to do a throughput test. We're using the pure iron ingot recipe, which means we need to bring some water over here. I've just left little signs on each section. Highly recommend doing this when you're doing large projects. We're using the pipes to add in a little bit of extra detail onto these plain sections of the walls. We need 5 pipes for our iron, which we're running across here. And then we can just run it across and then down into the refineries, into this cool little design on the top. I figured these ones are looking kind of bland, just sat exposed into the open here. So we've copied the design we used over at the other section, just to try and add a little bit more detail onto the top. And then all we need to do is connect these 2 pipes. And together we can watch the first machines come to life of this project. Oh, you are kidding me. This is the output, not the input. Oh, right, be right back. Now let's try that again. All we have to do is connect these 2 pipes, and we can watch the first machines of this project come to life. There we go. And now we can forget that last bit ever happened. But in all seriousness, the smoke from these refineries is really adding to the steampunk vibe of this whole build. I've chucked in some lights on top of the little sections here, ran the rest of the pipes in to get all of these refineries up and running, and I've temporarily fed everything just into some floating awesome sinks for a very, very quick throughput test. There's nothing like realizing a very basic resource is the problem of loads of issues later down the line. I'm looking at you, uranium fuel rod plant. And let me know what you think of this. Have you ever done anything cool with refineries to try and make the spam that you have to do look good? If so, I'd really love to see them over at the Barely Functioning Industries Discord server. The link for that will be below. And that's about as much as I could cram in before recording today's video. But it's going to be much of the same stuff to load all these other refineries up. Next time, I'm going to showcase an awesome way to make aluminium with no water extractors whatsoever, as well as prep our plastic and rubber for the rest of the build. So remember to drop a sub and comment I sub to get up on the wall. For now, guys, I'm going to go feel sorry for myself in a corner for how long all this actually took, and I will see you in the next one.